Today's video is on 5 countries that no longer exist.
Number 5. Prussia. Prussia was established as the result of a secularization of the Teutonic Order in 1525. It was originally located in what, at the time, was Eastern Germany, taking up parts of Poland and reaching into Lithuania. They were masters of military and were able to expand their size and power to a well-organized and effective army. They moved their capital from Königsberg to Berlin in 1701 as their grasp over Germany grew. In 1871, Prussia and the other German states under its influence united to form the German Empire. The name Prussia comes from the Old Prussians in the 13th century, a native people to the Baltic region which occupied the same area. The Teutonic Order conquered the region and eventually established their own state, which, in time, transformed itself into Prussia, the North German Confederation, the German Empire, and then Germany. But effectively, Prussian power ended in 1918 with the German Revolution, which ended all German monarchies and created the Weimar Republic. Number 4. Yugoslavia. Yugoslavia first existed as a kingdom from 1918 to 1941. Then as a socialist federation from 1945 to 1992, and then finally as a federation between Serbia and Montenegro from 1992 to 2006. In 1918, the kingdom was formed with the union of various recently independent states from the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Initially, it was called the Kingdom of Serbs, Croats, and Slovenes, ruled by a royal family of Serbian origin. They fled the country when it was invaded by the Axis powers in World War II. After the war, an Allied-friendly regime was installed, and Yugoslavia was given back its independence in 1944. In 1945, the king was deposed, and the monarchy came to an end with the creation of a socialist regime. Initially, they sided with the Soviet Union during the Cold War, but then they followed a neutrality policy of more moderation. Eventually, the federation was dissolved following a series of bloody conflicts that began in 1991. These were brutal conflicts resulting in entire regions breaking off into new countries. Today, the territory is divided between the former member countries Serbia, Montenegro, Croatia, Slovenia, Bosnia, Herzegovina, and Macedonia. Before we move on, make sure to subscribe to our channel with notifications on. Number 3. Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire existed from 1299 to 1922, ruling a lot of Southeast Europe, like the Balkans, Greece, the region of Turkey, the Middle East, and even stretching as far as Algeria and Tunis at some point. It was founded in the 13th century in Anatolia by Osman I. After expanding their power in that region, they crossed over to Europe in 1354, conquering Constantinople and ending the Byzantine Empire in 1453. Having Constantinople as its capital, the Ottoman Empire was the center of all trade and interactions between the Eastern and Western world for over 6 centuries. Its descent was the consequence of a lot of things like falling behind the military developments of their rivals, the Habsburgs, and the Russians. Loss after loss led to their diminishing as an empire. They attempted an alliance with Germany in order to not be so isolated, but that led to their participation in the losing side of World War I. After the war, the Middle Eastern territories were divided amongst France and Britain, and the monarchy came to an end. Then the Republic of Turkey was born, lasting until today. Number 2. The Soviet Union. The Soviet Union was the largest union of countries the world had ever seen, yet it no longer exists. It contained over 100 nationalities, making it one of the most diverse countries in the world. It was comprised of 15 republics, covering a gigantic 22.4 million kilometers. The Soviet Union was officially in existence from 1922 to 1991. In name, it was a union of several national republics, all of them following the socialist communist ideals. But in reality, the government and economy of it were highly centralized. The Communist Party was the only one allowed, and a ruling party as well, with its capital in Moscow, Russia, which was the largest of the Soviet republics, and one which effectively ruled all the others. Its size was significantly larger than current Russia, being in control of the Baltic countries Belarus, Ukraine, Crimea, the Caucasus region, Kazakhstan, and other countries in that region. 80% of its population lived in the western part of the country, or inside Europe. A total of 288 million people in 1989, the world's third largest population at the time. Its roots date back to the Bolshevik Revolution of 1917, being officially formed in 1922 with the Treaty of the Creation of the Soviet Union. Today, the Russian Federation is seen as the successor of the Soviet Union. Number 1. Bengal. In Southeast Asia lies the shadow of a once powerful independent kingdom of Bengal. Now split between the modern country of Bangladesh and the Indian regions Tripura, West Bengal, and the Barak Valley of Assam, Bengal was one of many nations that splintered post-colonial rule. But long before its time, the Bengali people called this region home, with evidence of human settlements in the area tracing back thousands of years. Thanks to its location near so many rivers and estuaries of the Bay in Bengal, the region was a natural haven for commerce and travel. Ancient Bengal, which was divided among a handful of smaller regions, prospered among the Ganges Delta and gained prominence among other growing empires. The Bengalis actually staved off the invasion of Alexander the Great in 325 BC. Over the next millennium, the Bengal territory became hotly contested by Muslim, Hindu, and Buddhist regimes. The regions of the Bengal kingdom finally united by 1352 under the Muslim leadership of Ilyas Shah, Bengal's first sultan. It remained independent for nearly 200 years until the Mughal Empire, which drew lineage from the famed rulers Genghis Khan and Timur, conquered Bengal between the 16th and 18th centuries. Under this rule, the nation would become the worldwide leader in the pearl and silk trade as merchants from Europe began trickling further and further east. In 1757, the British East India Company emerged as the dominant military force in the region and seized power in Bengal along with other nearby countries. Various rebellions, famines, and natural disasters plummeted the people of Bengal into nearly 200 years of strife, with more than 10 million Bengali casualties arising from these events. So when India sought independence in 1947, the Bengali people fought alongside the Indian National Army, with the hope of sovereignty. But religious divisions between Bengal population failed to unite, and thus the country went on to split into the various Indian provinces and the nation of Bangladesh we know today. Bengal earns a top spot on our list of 5 countries that no longer exist. Now let's take a look at some honorable mentions. Rhodesia. During the Cold War, Rhodesia was an unofficial country which spanned most of modern-day Zimbabwe. In the 1960s, the British government had a policy that its territories could only become independent if they adopted the democratic law of majority rule and voted for it. But the minority white settlers in southern Rhodesia didn't like that at all. They wanted to maintain power over the majority of the indigenous African population. So on November 11, 1965, Southern Rhodesia's white leaders declared independence from the British and formed the country of Rhodesia. Then, in 1980, following a bitter civil war, the infamous leader Robert Mugabe won political power in a landslide victory. He ordered that Rhodesia was no more and that instead the country of Zimbabwe was born. Gran Colombia. The supernation of Gran Colombia existed between 1819 and 1831 and consisted of modern nations like Colombia, Ecuador, Panama, and Venezuela. Easily the most prestigious nation in Spanish-controlled South America during this period, Gran Colombia earned praise from foreign diplomats like John Quincy Adams, who claimed the country to be one of the most powerful on the planet. The nation was led by Simon Bolivar, a Venezuelan leader that earned his nickname of El Libertador for his part in freeing many of the nations that comprised Gran Colombia from the Spanish Empire. Within the country, however, the people seemed split between those who supported a strong centralist government and those who sought a federalist, decentralized government. The debate caused a rift to form between Bolivar and his vice president Francisco de Paula Santander as a schism grew between the people of the various regions within the South American superpower. By 1831, the nation had disbanded and spawned the equatorial nations of modern South America.
I hope you all enjoyed today's video, narrated by Zach this time. Be sure to subscribe for more and check out some of our recent uploads.